And we are live with another episode of the Andor Aftershow. This is episode 5, which means we watched episode 5 of Andor, and we're here to talk about what happened in that episode. I'm your host, Dimitri Pereira. This is the show brought to you by The Key, where we do after shows. It's pretty simple. It's in the title of the show. We do after shows. And I also got my co-host, Sarah, with a.k.a. Miss Marauder.
Hello.
How's it going?
Fantastic.
It's been a week.
It's been a week. It certainly has been 7 days.
I hate that I have to wait a week in between Andor episodes. I think it hurts me. I'll get to it, but I think it hurts me more than any other Star Wars show, the waiting a week for it. And I have yet to figure out why. Well, kind of know why, but we will talk about it in today's episode of the After Show. But we also got a special guest today. We got Kira Elizabeth, a.k.a. Kira Elizabeth, with another H, because you have like 2 H's in your username. Why? What's up, Kira?
Hi. Kira. Yeah, I have 2 H's. Kira, 2 syllables. Kira. I have 2 H's in my username because unfortunately Kira Elizabeth with 1 H was taken. So I just went the lazy route and added another H.
Who's the Kira Elizabeth that like didn't have 2 H's? Like who stole it?
I think it was a private account, so I couldn't even see. But someone stole it from me. I know. I'm like,
challenge them.
The username to good use, you know.
I just like I hate those people. I hate those. Just I have no sympathy, no respect for any of those people that steal usernames.
I'm right there with you.
I've got the opposite thing where there was a woman somewhere, I think in Ohio, whose name is Sharon Zitney, who thinks that her email address is my email address. So she will sign up for things under my email address, and I'll get an email that's like, "Welcome, Sharon."
What is like S Zitney?
Yeah, she thinks that's her email, but it's my email.
It's not your email.
Her name is Sharon. Get it together, Sharon.
Come on,
I don't think I'm related to her. But,
I just I hate people that are not us. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. Kira, how have you been feeling about Andor so far? First things first, the first week it was 3 episodes, then it was an episode, and then this week obviously 1 episode. But like other than this episode 5, how have you felt about the first 4 episodes?
I definitely like that they dropped the first 3 together. I feel like having to wait a week between each of those episodes would have been a little excruciating.
Yeah.
So I feel like the first 3 episodes, they really like hit us with his backstory, hit us with everything we needed to know before, we got into the whole being recruited for the heist. And obviously it seems like episodes 4 through 6, maybe even 7 might be the actual heist. So I think it was well done in that regard.
6, or you mean week 4, episode 6? Like
sorry.
Week? Okay, yeah. It is hard to keep track because like what episode of the After Show is this Andor After Show? It's the 3rd episode.
Yeah.
Because it's the 3rd week, but it's the 5th episode. Anyway, whatever. But what were you saying?
I think that was just about it. I was just saying that I think it was set up really well in terms of like deciding to release, I guess, the first 3 episodes like together.
Yeah. Because the first 3 have like a cohesive story. 4 starts a kind of a brand new one, right?
Exactly. Like it almost feels like the episodes, they're like setting it up where I don't know if they'll continue or it's like 3, 3, and 3 and like just do it that way and like have mini episode series per se.
Funny you should say that, Kira. But we talked about it previously. Basically, this is the first season of Andor, right? It's 12 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And the second season has 12 episodes. The first 12 episodes, so season 1, is in 1 year. It's supposed to take place it's supposed to take place 5 years before the Battle of Yavin. Whether it's a span of a year or it all takes place in 1 week, I don't know. But the second season, every 3 episodes, it's supposed to jump forward a year. So it's supposed to be 3 episodes, 4 years, then 3, then 2, then 1 year before Battle of Yavin, and then we get to Rogue One.
Interesting. Okay, I definitely heard something about like obviously having those like little time skips because I feel like they definitely need to show you know, his journey of getting to Rogue One, especially where his character seems very different from the character, like the Cassian Andor that we know in Rogue One. So I'm definitely excited to hear that they're going to cover like that whole time span.
Yeah, I just rewatched Rogue One, and it hurts.
It does.
Sometimes when I watch these type of movies, I keep like hoping to myself that the movie is different, like that it just changed, like the ending's different.
I totally hear you on that.
Like when Gwen Stacy dies in Amazing Spider-Man 2, I just rewatched Amazing Spider-Man 2. I'm like, maybe this time it'll be different.
Maybe she'll wake up.
I'll tell you how deep into it I am. Is what I will do is when they're hugging on the beach, I'll just go, oh, and then I just shut my TV off.
Just
like,
click.
I don't need to see any more than that. They hugged, maybe they kissed afterwards, and then they lived happily ever after.
I'm
and let me just live in this bubble.
I'm glad they didn't kiss.
There's fanfic for that.
Which I mean, it might be a thing with this series. Like, is Andor gonna try to sleep with every girl, and then the final girl he doesn't sleep with is Jin, and then he dies?
Oh, I didn't even think about it like that.
No?
Oh no. Oh, I hadn't even thought about that. That he's like they're setting him up
As a
canonically as such a womanizer, but Jin's the only one he like lets himself get close to. Oh no.
I mean, when you look like Cassian Andor, how could girls not fall for that?
It's real emotional damage.
I like him when he's shaved, like not in those first like 4 episodes or 3 episodes or whatever, but like when he shaves. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Better looking guy, clean shaven, I think.
Well, they probably did that too to try to de-age him a little bit.
Yeah, because it's been 5 years since Rogue One, but it's 5 years before, so he should look what he looked 10 years ago.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I like a good beard. I was sad to see it go. I did like the
Me
beard,
too.
but I do like the way his face looks. When Cyril had that moment where he was just like sitting in his bedroom staring at the hologram, I wrote in my notes, I get it, buddy. I also sometimes sit alone in my room staring at a picture of Diego Luna.
Yeah.
I get it.
Rogue One hurts, and I am a big fan of Rogue One. I am. I have been since I watched it. But the biggest complaint about Rogue One is that the characters weren't well fleshed out because they were just destined to die, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like this show is going to make Andor's death even worse? Like it's gonna hurt because it's fleshing him out, and we're gonna be with him for 2-3 years, depending on how long it takes for us to get season 2. Do you feel like this is gonna make the pain that much worse?
I feel like yes, but also at the same time, if they had done it reverse and like given us the show first and we didn't know like his end, like I feel like it definitely would have hurt a lot worse to see his journey and then see his death. But at the same time, like I feel myself already getting reattached to this character because when I watched Rogue One, I definitely felt myself wanting to know more about the characters because they were so intriguing.
Yeah.
And it's definitely Rogue One is one of my favorite Star Wars movies, if not my favorite Star Wars movie. So I was definitely very excited to hear we were going to get more of Cassian and like hear his backstory, like where he came from. So yeah, I'm like, I definitely think it's bittersweet. I don't know if that's the right word, but there's pros and cons to knowing he dies at the end.
How wild would it have been if this Star Wars franchise had a series that ends with a movie where all the characters die at the end? Like a series that lasts for 2-3 years, and in that final movie, everyone's dead.
I would personally hate that, but it would be interesting to see. It would hurt a lot.
It can't hurt more than Rogue One, so I welcome it now. I'm like, okay, let's see them have like some cojones, you know?
Well, see, you say that, but if you spend like years getting attached to characters and they're ripped from you, whereas Rogue One's,
I mean,
it obviously hurts so much, but it's just.
So.
I mean, I guess.
I would have rather Finn go out in a blaze of glory than whatever they chose to do with him.
I know. I definitely still struggle with that whole ending.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like when I watched Rogue One, the thing that I was so impressed with was that I became so attached to the characters, despite the fact that I had a strong feeling they were all gonna die.
I didn't think
And
they were gonna die.
I can feel this happening in this show, and I'm like conscious of it, and I'm mad at it. Like in a way that's like I love it, and I'm mad at it.
Yeah.
Like particularly Nemec. We all know that little nerdy boy who's a true believer in the cause. Like the consensus, I over everything I've seen in the discussion about him is like that boy is dead. Like there's no chance he's gonna survive.
Yeah. So in this episode, first thing, I thought the heist was going to happen in this episode, but they're choosing to take their time, which I'm cool with. We get really great character moments, in my opinion. Were you guys let down that the heist wasn't in this episode?
For me, I honestly wasn't, because I feel like the episode really gave us an inside look at like the dynamic of this group, and we got to know the characters before the high stakes came into play. So I feel like it becomes even higher stakes because you find yourself kind of becoming attached to some of the characters. I'm gonna butcher names, but the boy Sarah was just talking about, Nemec, I just have such a bad feeling, and I already find myself being attached to him and like wanting him to live. So I feel like we needed this episode to sort of get to know the characters.
So we feel like they're just all gonna die?
I wouldn't say all of them.
Okay.
But I feel like there at least has to be one, maybe two deaths to kind of show how high stakes this mission was. And
yeah, they
sorry,
specifically call out Nemec because he says, "Oh, you're worried about the kids." So the two youngest ones are Nemec, and they say he's a true believer, and then they say Cinta, and she's the toughest one here. And it's like, okay, targets on their backs immediately.
I don't think it's gonna be Cinta.
I think that
she's in the promotional poster, and
I have a theory about Cinta.
Oh,
like the background that we have. By the way, for anyone out there who's watching the live stream, you can see all of our faces and our social media, so definitely go follow everyone there. But the poster that I use for the background of the live stream has Cinta, and I can't remember who else it has, but it for sure has Cinta, and it doesn't have some of the other characters. So just a quick rundown. We have Terramin, right? Terramin's leading the marching orders, and then he's like, why does he have to change to a left hand? Then we have Skeen, who is the guy who, who's distrusting of Andor Clem, as he goes by.
So bad.
We have Skeen, we have Nemec, we have Vel, who is the blonde girl who is running the team. We have Cinta, which, maybe we'll talk about Cinta and Vel in a little bit. And then we have Gorn, who is the lieutenant.
Mm-hmm.
Gorn is the lieutenant who has switched sides, right? And I think that's our crew. I really only see Cinta, I think, on the poster. I don't know who else.
I'm so happy you said the Cinta and Bell thing, because I clocked it and I was like, is that just, am I projecting?
Yeah.
Or that's a thing, right? There's
two clues. You guys want to talk about Vel and Cinta? They're together.
Yeah, he says that she's already sharing a blanket, so like don't even think about it.
So and then,
that's the part that really,
right. But then later, when they revealed that Andor is for hire, they turn to Cinta, and Cinta goes, "She didn't tell me."
Mm-hmm.
And that's bad news for the fact that the two of them are on a team together in this mission. So if Cinta is in the promotional materials, that leads me to think that Vel's gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
And either one, any couple where one of them is dying in the other's arms,
I mean, they'll be lucky in this show if they die in each other's arms, because they most likely just get blown up or left behind. Okay, in the promotional poster, I only see Vel and Cinta.
Oh, so Vel's there too?
Yeah, promotional material. In the big old poster, we see, who's the blonde Imperial officer?
Deidre.
Deidre.
We see Mon Mothma. We see Cyril. We see Vel. We see Bix.
Mm-hmm.
Is her name. We see Skarsgård, whatever his name is,
Luthen.
We see Luthen's assistant and Saw Gerrera. It doesn't mean this is a fully expansive list of characters, because like
they're in like the floating head poster with the big Cassian, and then everyone's little okay.
So I'm looking at another poster that's a different poster. It has the same characters. So it just, I mean, chances are they all die. It would be weird though that all the guys die on this mission except, oh no, there's two groups.
Mm-hmm.
Andor's going to be the only person who lives in his group. Cinta and Vel are a different group.
Mm-hmm.
That could be it.
That's how they die. Or that's why the split happens that way.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right?
I'm very interested to know what Vel and Cinta's like role is, because I feel like they gave us a pretty good insight as to what like Andor is going to be doing.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious to know like what their role is going to be in all this.
Yeah. Duck Dodgers is out there, and so is Mr. Plow on live stream. Duck Dodgers says TV show with characters that people enjoyed to a movie where they all died. That's Serenity and Firefly. Oh yeah, that is.
Did everyone die? Did they all die in Firefly? I thought wasn't it just
Wash dies. Yeah, you're
right.
I
mean, that's enough.
Yeah. And Mr. Plow says, "Wow, we're doing a Deadpool. Let's play some bets." So, yeah, I mean, what were you saying? We don't know the roles of them two. Like, yeah, I don't know what their group is gonna do. The other guys are doing the heist. What are those two doing?
I know. I'm like, I was really trying to I was trying to find any context clues for what they were going to be up to, and they're really just leaving it for a surprise, I guess.
Yeah. There were a lot of plot lines in this episode, right? There's Mon Mothma's plot. There's a quick thing with Luthen. There's Deidre. There's, by the way, is it Cyril?
I think it's Cyril.
Cyril?
That's how his mom pronounces it. Like Cyril.
There's Cyril. There's Andor in the group. Mm-hmm. And then there's that random other Imperial officer guy who was like...
on Phoenix?
He's like...
Ferrix? What is it?
Do you want this to be your headquarters? And he's like, or whatever. What do you think of this place? For a hotel? I think that's what whatever. There's that guy. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That was the guy who told Cyril like they were all fired. I think it was that guy, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So there's something going on with him. I don't know his name. Kira, did you notice all the plot lines?
Yeah, no, for sure. It gave me like, I know we were talking about Game of Thrones before this, so it's probably why it's on my mind, but it's giving me like Game of Thrones-esque with all the different like characters having their own storylines. And I know obviously at some point we're gonna probably find them all connecting. But I do find it interesting to see this many plot lines. I feel like we've seen like, Mandalorian and Boba Fett plot lines together in the shows, but I feel like Star Wars hasn't really gone this far yet and like branched out this many directions. So I think it's really interesting to see like their take on this, I guess.
Yeah. It's funny when you bring up Mandalorian and stuff, because Star Wars TV is going through the same kind of thing as Marvel TV is, where it's like, what structure makes it TV? And a lot of people have been operating on like, it's an episodic feel. Mandalorian has an episodic feel. That's what makes it more TV. But I argue that it's what She-Hulk is doing right now and what Andor is doing right now, where it's multiple plot lines. It's A, B, C plots. They weave in and out. That's TV. Movies don't do that. Movies have one through plot. Maybe there's a thing here and there where they cut away from that character and then they come back. So like Rogue One, really it was Jin, and like Krennic had his side plot until he comes back in. he like curves around, right?
Yeah.
But it's not the episodic nature, I don't think, because TV could be episodic, sometimes it's not, right? Self-contained episodes or a connecting through line. TV does both, but what TV does really well that movies cannot do is multiple plots.
I think that's why I was thinking that the heist would be this episode, but once I got further into the episode, I wasn't disappointed that it didn't happen because there's so many plot lines. So obviously the Cassian and the Rebels plot line, we are taking like 4 steps forward with that, right? They're making big moves, but then we still have to move Deidre up a little bit. Yeah. You know, we still have to move Mon Mothma up a little bit. Like we have our big one that's taking the big steps, and then we still have to go to the other guys. So I wasn't disappointed that we didn't see the heist because they're making progress in the other plot lines too, which I like.
I've realized that I'm most satiated by like these TV shows that have multiple plot lines, like as opposed to one through line. You know, I don't know. I just feel.
Then you should watch Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that's not why I don't watch Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is over, so I don't want to watch Game of Thrones, and everybody complained about the final season.
That's true, but I've heard if you don't devote 10 years of your life to it, the ending is less disappointing.
Okay.
But I devoted every Sunday for 10 years.
Is it easier for you to just watch House of Dragons? Start that.
Yeah, I don't think you need to have any background in Game of Thrones to watch House of the Dragon.
Yeah. Which is what I say about Andor.
I do want to start.
You don't need to watch Game of Thrones to watch Andor. It's weird.
I want to start a podcast with my dad talking through the episodes of House of Dragon because he couldn't tell the characters apart in Game of Thrones. Like every white British dude with a beard was the same to him, and now it's all just white hair, and they all have the weirdest names. It's Rhaenyra and Rhaenys, and like they all. I definitely want to like do a series with him where he tries to explain what happens in each episode.
Right. Well, because it's hard because all the characters, I feel like, not all of them obviously, but most of the characters are either like R's or A's, and I feel like I'm constantly like, wait, who are they referring to? Like I can't keep up with all of like the similar names.
The names I would say in Andor though are as weird.
Except
for sure.
It's certain times I'm like, I don't, except for Tim.
Except
R.I.P.
the names at least like feel like I feel like it's fun learning Star Wars names because it can come up in conversation later. But Game of Thrones is just Game of Thrones. It's not like a huge thing like Star Wars is, you know? Maybe that's my personal bias because I like Star Wars. But
Speaking of weird names, I would love why Clem? Like what made Cassian be like, yeah, I'll go by Clem?
So Clem is his adopted father's name.
Oh, I missed that.
So yeah, I missed it too until somebody else brought it up, and then I looked on IMDb.
Okay.
Clem is the guy who's with, what's his mother's name in the first episode? The one who finds him. There's
Marva.
Marva. So Clem and Marva are the ones who found him and raised him. Though
see, he hasn't been shown.
Center. He goes to a juvenile detention center, I think. They talked about it in this episode. He spends 3 years there, or 6 years? 3 years, I think?
3 years, 13 to 16.
Yeah. So I don't know what happened there, but that's something. But Clem is... Actually, Andor's not even his last name.
No, it's Andor. Duh.
Cassian
Andor.
Cassian Andor. No, but Andor is Clem's last name. His adopted father.
I think it's because I focused so much on the adoptive mother because obviously we saw more of her. So I'm interested to know if they're gonna show more of like the father, especially where especially where he's like using that name. I feel like we have to know more and like why, because obviously there's gonna be some attachment there if Cassian's like, that's the name I'm gonna choose to go by.
Yeah. So this is just a side thing that I just wanted to comment on from my own personal experience, is that science fiction tends to do a thing where they only have like one person of color, and then you just say, you can then just say, oh yeah, it's that one black guy in Game of Thrones or whatever, you know. Science fiction, fantasy, they tend to do that. They're like, you know, and then then the audience doesn't get confused. And in this show, we have multiple characters of color, but now we got to learn the Star Wars names for them. So then it's like, okay, we got to do it to keep everyone apart. Great, awesome, great job, progression. But also, I got to learn these Star Wars names. But I really do like Andor and the fact that like they're diversifying tone, they're diversifying characters, diversifying motivations. That's been really like refreshing. Also, the bad guys aren't like bad. They're not evil. They're bad. They support this system of oppression. But like, it's more of a lesson to like be like, yeah, your neighbors could be Nazis too. Like that's kind of they're not every evil person or bad person is Voldemort. They're the people who support Voldemort that are also bad. You know, they're not all Lucius Malfoy. This is all Harry Potter. We're all over the place, but you know what I mean. Which I think is shown in Andor, but it's not shown so much in other Star Wars material.
I really like all of the moments with Nemec, R.I.P. Next episode. Where
You're already calling it
future R.I.P. I gotta just acclimate myself to it.
Yeah.
So
Did
that
he
it doesn't
also
hurt as
say
much.
like I'll tell you later?
Yeah, I'll see I'll tell you later. Oh,
Something
God.
like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll discuss it later. Like,
Yeah.
okay, you're all gonna die. The whole title of the episode, "The axe forgets, but the tree remembers."
Yeah.
I tried to look that up. What I got was like it's an African proverb. Like no, but it's like a thing.
Yeah, I've heard it before. Yeah.
Yeah. The surprise from above is never as shocking as one from below is another thing that Nemec said that I was like, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And then when they're talking about Lieutenant Gorn, they said that he fell in love with a local girl and then some tragedy happened. And then I think what Vel says is something along the lines of like, everyone has their own rebellion.
Yes.
And I was like, all of these are bangers. Like, this is all like, these are all amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the very first time we talked about this show, and I was talking about like literally crying as I was watching Luthen talk about like the spark of the rebellion and hearing Nemec talk about all this stuff and kind of detailing the oppression and this idea that like, if it's just unrelenting, if it's like unrelenting small things, it's not as impressive. And it's like, yeah, there's going to be a big thing, which is going to be that Alderaan's going to, get blown up or whatever,
Right.
So watching all of this get from like a true believer in the cause was very, very fulfilling for me. I liked that a lot.
Yeah. I do. And it's taken me getting older to appreciate the little politics that were in episodes 1 to 3. I used to not like the politics in episodes 1, 2, and 3, but like it took me getting older to do that. And then now they're going even more into depth. Like, what's his name? Nemec?
Mm-hmm.
Nemec has like a full like communist manifesto going on that he's like talking about like anti-establishment stuff and just like oppressive regimes and whatnot. And it's like, yeah, go you, dude. Like, I appreciate that. I don't know. It's weird. It is Star Wars, but it's not Star Wars.
I think it's a good call to kind of like, I guess, sort of the era it's in, because obviously, like you said, episodes 1 through 3 do have a heavy political focus, and obviously this show is taking place kind of between the prequels and the OGs. So I think it's definitely kind of a callback to the prequels being political, so to say.
Yeah. Well, because like science fiction historically, like in our media, science fiction like has an emperor of sorts as a big bad villain, right? Mm-hmm. Flash Gordon had I forget, there was an emperor, like a big bad guy. And I think John Carter of Mars has that, and like there's always some big bad guy that has a legion of something, right? An army, a legion of ninjas, something of some sort. But like we never think to ourselves like, why are they backing him up? How did he get all these people? How did he create a government? Like of some sort, which sounds really boring, but you can tell really interesting stories like with Andor. The Emperor in 4, 5, and 6 is just the Emperor. Like, he's kind of bland. Vader is the more interesting one. But the Emperor is just like pure evil emperor. It is what it is. Sarah, were you gonna say something? Or?
I have a thing I want to talk about, but I don't know if now is the right time. But speaking of spooky shadow organizations, I want to talk about, and maybe you guys, I don't know if you guys are more versed in Star Wars lore than me and can help out. The tattoos that Skeen has.
Right.
So he has the barcode one, and he says he's a crate head or something, or crate head, which I'm like, okay, that's obviously maybe like a prison thing or
it's
an
crate head,
enlistment.
but if it wasn't for the subtitles, I would have heard great head.
I could be wrong on this. Was Crate the planet in I'm blanking, the second sequel movie?
Last Jedi. But there's two crates.
Yeah. Oh. This is like the crate dragon. Krayt.
Yes.
Not Crait.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to look this up so we can at least have the
but then he says that he has that other tattoo, and he says by the hand.
By the hand, yeah.
Which the hand of the emperor or emperor's hand is a thing in Legends.
Which Mara Jade.
With Mara Jade. But they also brought it up in Rebels with Thrawn, as a connection to Thrawn, which I think is more likely because then Dave Filoni, I was reading articles about it, and Dave Filoni, back when they introduced it in Rebels, was like, don't think too much about it. It's not a Mara Jade thing. I'm not bringing Mara Jade into canon.
Right.
And then yesterday I saw an article that was like, is Andor bringing Mara Jade into canon? And I was like, oh, we've been here before with Rebels. But of course, then it was the hand, and then I thought Daredevil and Marvel, and I was like, oh, my brain it has too many things called the hand.
Yeah, so I'm looking it up, and but this is speculation, and it doesn't make any sense because I kind of think this article that I'm reading right now loses credibility. But basically, they say by the hand could be a connection to Hand of Thrawn, an offshoot of the Empire charged with fending off extragalactic threats. But then it says in the article, Andor also says they built a lot of cages, which implies there's something fishy going on with the Hand of Thrawn that involves being in cages. No, they built a lot of cages to, the oppressive regime. I thought that was like a metaphor. I mean, even literal. They built a lot of cages. There's a lot of different. In my head, Skeen has been to prison. Those are prison tats. That's why they're talking about prison. They built a lot of cages because no matter whether it's a juvenile youth detention center that Andor was on, or wherever Skeen was, there are so many prisons around this empire for different reasons and different people. They built a lot of cages. That's what I gathered.
So I read a very dumb article that was like, it's probably by the hand because he did a lot of manual labor. And I was like, I don't think that's it.
I don't think there's a little bit more deeper.
I don't think there's a universally acknowledged tattoo for I did manual labor in prison. What are you talking about?
I think it's prison gangs and prison tats and that sort of thing.
I'm interested to see if that was kind of a toss away or if we're gonna find out more about that, dirty kind of deeds of the Empire. I'm very interested. I did a lot of Googling because I was like, I remember it from Rebels, but there's a lot of little, Rebels connections, which I appreciate. But that also ties into future Star Wars projects with the Ahsoka show being so Rebels based. So I feel like if they're going to make a reference to something, it's going to probably be more Thrawny and less Mara Jade. Unfortunately.
It's so weird. People mention hand and suddenly people are like, all they got to do is mention hand. And they're like, Emperor's hand. And it's like, I mean, these characters have hands. There could be other things associated with a hand.
But when he says it, I think it's because my subtitles were on. And by the hand is capitalized. It's like the way May the Force be with you is capitalized.
Right.
Hand is capitalized like force. I'm wondering if this is just an Easter egg that I should not be looking into. It has WandaVision taught me nothing. But it's fun for me because this is my this is my Star Wars era. These are the times that I like. So when I
Yeah.
hear stuff that I'm like, oh, would that ring a bell? I get excited.
Something that somebody said was that like Cassian had previously said he was forced to fight for the Empire. So maybe they're both. That's a sign of conscripted service.
Yeah.
Okay, fair, but it doesn't have to be Mara Jade related or Thrawn related. You know, but also, let's try to break this down. He didn't want his tattoos being shown to the other people, right? He said the other people don't know. They haven't seen those tattoos.
I think he meant
negative.
I think he meant they don't know what they mean. Like you understand what it means by looking at it, but they don't get what it means when they see it.
Okay. Like
that was my takeaway from it. That they see it like, oh, you like it was a kind of like an unspoken thing of him acknowledging that Cassian has been through the same kind of thing because he knows what his tattoos mean.
Yeah. That makes sense because I guess they would have had to be shirtless at some point in their like 8 months of camping or whatever they said. He's a never nude. Skeen is a never nude.
And everyone that gets a chest tattoo is gonna walk around shirtless all the time to show it off.
I mean, that's real life.
Although it's a prison tattoo, so it's not.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, is it that the negative part is that he's been to prison, which is not good, or worse, he's worked for the Empire?
Well, I wouldn't say. Part of me wants to say that people who have like the rebellion mindset don't necessarily see like going to prison under the Empire's regime as bad, because they could have done something really good, like in against the Empire, and that's how they end up in prison. So I can't see that would be like off-putting that he's been in prison, but who knows? I guess
that's true. Yeah, it might be a conscripted service sort of thing.
Yeah, I think it's more for me, I think it's more the connection that Cassian knows what that specific thing means because he's been in the same situation.
Right.
But I love when they kind of make up at the end and he gives him the like, that's as close to an apology as you're going to get. I was like, this is peak sibling energy. And I like it.
It's sad. We don't think of almost the indirect influences, like the indirect deaths that happen because of the Empire, right? Kiera, has this show been like expanding your brain of like thinking what Star Wars is and like what it could be?
I definitely do. Like, I mean, I know The Mandalorian and Boba Fett have done this too, but I feel like the movies obviously heavily focus on Jedi and lightsabers and that aspect of Star Wars. Whereas with these TV shows, I guess we're getting a look at, I guess, the so-called like ordinary people in the Star Wars universe. That's why I think I liked Rogue One so much, is because it felt like it was a story of like the little guys, you know, like the people who do a lot of hard work behind the scenes that you don't get to see, that supports kind of what the heroes do. So I think, especially in this case of like building the rebellion that is obviously so famous from the original movies, that obviously, you know, Luke, Han, Leia like are so much a part of, I think it's interesting to see it being built and like who built it.
Yeah. We're seeing a lot of Mon Mothma. She's getting her own plot line in this. Have you been a fan of Mon Mothma? Do you not care about Mon Mothma?
In all honesty, like I was like, oh, she's a cool person, like when I watched the originals, and I did find myself kind of wanting to know more, but I wasn't like insanely disappointed when, you know, we didn't get a whole lot in the original trilogy. But I think it's definitely, I wasn't expecting like a whole separate plot line for her, so I think that it's very interesting that they chose to go that route and they're like giving her a storyline.
Yeah, something that I had mentioned last episode is that like I always just thought of Mon Mothma as like the mascot of the rebellion.
That's a good way to put it.
She was just kind of always there as a kid, you know. Again, I'm not as I don't think this necessarily have these thoughts when I'm as an adult, but I was just like, who's the girl in the dress with the boy's haircut? Like, you know what I mean? Like when I was a kid, I just like, you know, she's a girl in a dress with boy hair. Okay. I don't know who she is, but okay.
You just unlocked something, which is I think the reason I liked her so much in the original trilogy is my mom had that exact same haircut.
Yeah.
So I think she was a very motherly figure, the little that we got of her. And I think maybe that's why I was so attached to her.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm really unpacking this. I think she reminded me of my mom.
The most she stood out was like, I think in some of the video games, she's in some of the like the old video games. Like not as a playable character, but just like someone who tells you what to do or whatever. Or like again a mascot of the rebellion. And then I'm glad they're fleshing her out in this. Do we need the fleshed out thing of like a not a good marriage and a daughter that dislikes her?
So this is why I like it. I like that it's a slow burn for her. I like that we're going little baby steps with her because she's essentially living a double life, right? She's essentially a spy, but it has this kind of, her daughter hates her because she's not involved and her husband just sucks. But with all the different plot lines, so you've got like the different types of storylines. If everyone's plot line was like, here's the Empire, here's the rebels, but it's not. So we've got the rebels staging their heist. We've got the middle management Deidre stuff. We've got Cyril eating cereal with his mom, which is the most pathetic thing I've ever seen.
We're going to call your uncle for a favor.
Yeah. And I'm going to talk shit about you to your uncle.
Yeah.
I'm going to, and just being abused by his mom while he's also being a little shit. So, but like, okay, you get it from your mom. There's that. And then the other, like, so the kind of aggressive family drama that's happening there, and then the quiet family drama that's happening with Mon Mothma is just like a delicious layer cake of different kinds of conflict. And I like that we have that type of conflict that we're seeing with Mon Mothma, this like personal, what is being sacrificed in her personal life for all the other stuff she's doing for the rebellion.
When the TIE fighter, we're so used to TIE fighters just going, right? Well, first we have to get into our head that a TIE fighter versus humans on the ground is deadly. We think of TIE fighters as just kind of like, they're not that big of a deal, right? Because like an X-Wing versus TIE fighter, we've seen them. Boom, boom. TIE fighter's gone. But then when the TIE fighters are like making their rounds, we feel this like nerves. And then we expect them to shoot. I at least did. And then no, they're just going to be dicks. They're the equivalent of a cop car revving their engine. Or the opposite, slowing down and giving you the eye as they drive past you, right? Like, they're just fucking with you.
I literally...
go ahead.
I was just going to say, no, in that moment, like when he went by, the only thing that went through my head was that really necessary? Like, I was like, why did you feel the need? Yeah, no. And I'm just like, I think it's just further showing, like you said, they're just dicks.
It reminds me of, there's a scene in Batman Year One where the cops can do whatever they want. And so Commissioner Gordon's new to Gotham and Detective Flass is showing him around. It's the same character in the comic and Batman Begins who like takes the money from the falafel guy. He's like, what, they don't like falafel? How am I gonna feed my kids? What, they don't like falafel? It's that kind of cop attitude. So it's that TIE fighter being like, you know, hey, you got you got a fruit cart, and then like tip over the fruit cart, and they're like, clean it up, otherwise I'll write you another ticket. I'm out of here. I don't know. That's just the vibes I got from the TIE fighter.
The like ominous nature of the TIE fighters, where you can kind of hear them before you see them, is fantastic. But yeah, then we have the scene of the guy on the, you know, they're all excited to see the eye, this natural thing that happens. But then in the next breath, they're up there saying that the indigenous people of this planet are stinky. And like, thank goodness there's only 100 of them. Because like, I bet you could smell it if there were more.
Was it 1,000?
Yeah. I think he said there's like 100 and he was like, oh, there used to be thousands. Like, could you imagine the smell? And then that's when the lieutenant's like, yeah, I could. And it's like, dude, you guys suck so bad. But it's that kind of casual, we're better than they are genuinely, I'm assuming like almost like it's like racism, you know,
Racism
that they're
and
just
genocide.
That they're able to just kind of be like, oh man, like we're really excited to see the natural beauty of this planet, but also good thing we've killed off all the people who lived here.
The natural beauties for us, the Empire. The Empire, we can have a skeleton. Remember, they were like, oh, let's do a skeleton crew down here. Most of the people transfer here because they want to see that site. That site's for the Empire. It's not for the indigenous people. The natural beauty of Hawaii is for America. That's some commentary for you. Okay. Anyway. Yeah, Mr. Plow says colonizer vibes. Yeah. You know? I could start a whole another podcast on some of this stuff. What was I gonna say? Do we think Gorn fell in love with an indigenous girl here on Donnie?
Yeah, honestly, I think that may have been his like turning point where maybe he turned on the Empire and decided to become a spy, sort of.
Yeah. For them. They said that, but I wasn't sure whether it was a different planet or this planet or whatever. But that context of like, can you imagine the smell? And he's like, yeah, because he was down there with them, maybe. And then they end up like killing him, right?
Well, because he said he had been there, was it 7 years? Because he's seen 2 of them. He said
it's every 7 years, right?
No, it's every 3 years. So I think he said he's seen 2 of them because he's been there. I could be wrong on the exact numbers, but I think he's been there for like 7 years. And I sort of got the vibes that like when they were talking about like how there used to be, he's like, can you imagine thousands of them? And the way Gorn responded being like, yeah, I can imagine that, kind of made me feel like he was there and like maybe he celebrated either with them or like was down there. And I don't know, it definitely gave me like the inclination that he fell in love with a girl on that planet.
Yeah, I got that too.
I want to say what's up to first time chatter M Gabriel 619 over there on Twitch watching us. M Gabriel 619 says Andor is definitely the most different product we've been given from Star Wars so far. I can understand if some people watch this and don't like it. I personally think it's amazing, and it's scratching an itch I never thought I needed. And as a fan of the expanded universe, you know, of Star Wars, where you don't need the Jedi to make a Star Wars story, like I like that. We don't need them, but also the fact that like this show, if it wasn't Star Wars, it wouldn't be Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like. I was thinking to myself, like, my parents, they've seen, like, 1 or 2 Star Wars, or, like, 1.5, I think. And, like, could I get them to watch Andor? I think I could. If you're not a fan of Star Wars, I think you could still watch Andor.
I think it's interesting that I feel like the hype around this show is not in the general public, because my brother is a Star Wars fan. I mean, we grew up watching Star Wars together, but he's not obviously as what's the word I'm trying to think of that's not disparaging.
I'm looking at your background and I'm like,
he's not as this as I am. But he watches it and he was like, oh, I haven't watched Andor yet. Like, should I? And I was like, did you like Rogue One? And he's like, I love Rogue One. And I was like, oh, then watch Andor. Like, without a doubt. Like, but even the people that are like, oh yeah, I liked Rogue One, aren't like, it might not be on their radar if they're not, the people that are watching the Disney Plus shows, when they drop it midnight for every show. So that idea of like, yeah, you would love it. Like, I think that's the general, and everyone, they push it on social media of like the best Star Wars show ever. And I'm like, I think they say that about every show when it first comes out, but this is definitely on track.
It's its own thing
for me. Yeah. It's so unique, and it's so like treading stuff that we haven't trod before.
Yeah.
It's very exciting for me.
Someone pointed this out that I didn't notice at first. Not only do they not have Jedi and lightsabers, which I obviously knew that going in, we haven't seen alien faces. What alien faces have we seen?
There was a bunch on Ferrix.
A bunch or a couple? Like,
well, I guess a couple of handfuls.
Yeah, that kind of like opening sequence where he's walking through those like alleyways, I guess.
Oh,
You see all
the
these
red light
creatures and like
district.
yeah, you see
Yeah.
all like the different aliens, I guess,
Yeah.
in like those bubbles
In the
almost. I
bubbles.
don't even know what to call them. The bubbles that
I mean,
are on the
it's
side of the
brothel.
buildings, but
It's like a it's red light stuff, right? Like it's like the naked girls in the windows of San Francisco. I don't know where it is in real life, but the point being is, like in real life, there are things like that, right? So that's if you want to get with a Rhodian. I don't know, you know.
There's a very different frame of reference because for me, on kids' playgrounds, they have those a lot of times where it's like an acrylic like dome, and then kids can like stick their face in it, and that's where my. I mean, I know it's supposed to be a red light district.
It's supposed to be a red light district. Okay. Yes, it's not just me, right? They're like, no, it's a playground for kids. Whoa! Hey.
How dare you even?
Yeah. By the way, somebody said something earlier. I think it was Sarah, because I keep talking about media literacy, and not very many people have that like level of media literacy. But you also need imagination with your media literacy, because you said, Sarah, that somebody said something that was so like mundane that I'm like, well, I don't know about that. It just seems like the media literacy is there, but the imagination of like what this story could be.
Oh, the idea that his tattoo of for the hand just means that he built a lot of things with his hands.
Yes. Okay. Yes. I feel like there's a middle ground here. You got to have imagination and media literacy to understand.
I mean, I can understand getting a tattoo for a dumb reason. I mean, I have a tattoo of pumpkin pie because I like pumpkin pie, but I don't think that's I don't think that's what his. I don't think he was scrolling his intergalactic Instagram feed and went, "That's a cute one."
Yeah,
I like to build things with my hands.
Speaking about pumpkin pie, we got blue milk cereal. Just wanted to.
Yeah, and the like it seemed to be some kind of a fruity pebble fruit. Yeah. Just delightful.
We also got regular milk. We got Dre milk, is what they called it. Dre, which would have been whatever animal they had on the camp.
Those are Jacob's sheep.
They weren't actual sheep though.
Are you talking about the ones in the rebellion?
Camp?
Yeah. Those are Jacob's sheep. They have 4 horns.
What are Jacob's sheep?
They're sheep with 4 horns.
In real life?
Yep. Yeah, they're real.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah.
Me just thinking it's another Star Wars invention.
Yeah, it's either Jacob's rams or Jacob's sheep. But yeah, they have horns coming this way, and then one's kind of going out below.
What are they?
They're absolutely incredible.
Did they modify them for the show?
No.
I kid you not, when I was watching that scene, I literally had a thought of like, oh, I wonder how, the rams or the sheep are so well behaved that they put an extra set of horns on them. Like I feel so stupid now for thinking that, because I never even thought that they were.
It's not general knowledge. I only know it because in my weird interests, I am interested in skulls and taxidermy, and I do like embroidery with skulls and stuff. And so the place that I buy skulls from, occasionally they do have Jacob's ram skulls, and I've been like eyeing one for like that'll be a big like 35th birthday present or something for myself. Buy myself one of those skulls.
Mr. Plow says, I thought that too, like, oh, great prosthetics for animals. Yeah.
I'm glad I wasn't the only one to think that.
Yeah, I think they're native to like I think they're from England, and but if you look up Jacob's rams or Jacob's sheep, they genuinely have 4 horns like that, and they'll have 2 that are a little bit straighter and 2 that are like a little twirly. They're very cool looking.
I want to see. I don't know if any any fantasy thing has done like a minotaur, but with that.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
I mean, they're a little demonic looking.
Yeah,
and I think that helps with the kind of making them look alien. But they're real.
Mr. Plow says it's gritty not only because it's violent, but also because of the stakes and desperation. Desperation, I think, is a big key thing in this show, as well as the drama is what makes it a strong case for why the rebellion happens, or why rebellions happen in general, I think is what Mr. Plow was saying.
And the kind of like how you can tell it's like just the beginning and the budding like bit of the rebellion when Cassian is kind of being a dick about it, but I'll forgive him when they're talking about the weight thing and how can you tell how much it weighs, and he's like, you guys don't even know where the weight is. He's like really kind of getting on them about it, like, yeah, have you been there? Do you know if it's on the tracks? Like, have we even verified any of this? Do you know? And he's kind of shocked that they don't know this thing that he thinks, like I feel like he thinks he's walking into something that's more organized than it is. And they're like, no, man, like we're doing what we can. And then we see Luthen at the end being genuinely like really worried about if this is going to work. Like they put on this thing, you know, we think of the rebellion as like, you know, scrappy, but organized and knows what they're doing. But they're just like, man, I really hope this works. Like this, you know, hoping for the best, doing what we can type thing.
Well, I think his like that last, I don't know if it was the last line or one of the last lines where Luthen kind of, or the girl, I forget her name, but she says to him something like, it'll all be over by like this time tomorrow. And Luthen kind of says like, it'll just be starting or something like that, where it's like, it ties in with that, where you think, you know, this could be something where it's like a one-off, where it's just like, oh, you know, they'll do it, it'll be done, it's fine. But then when you kind of see it in context, it's like, this could be, you know, the first kind of big strike against the Empire. And it really could be, and it obviously in the context of what we know, it probably is like the start of this whole bigger rebellion and like taking down the Empire.
Yeah, and Cassian has that line where he says, they're like, what are you here for? And he says, I'm here to win and walk away. I was like, oh, buddy.
Yo, you're in it for the long run.
You're in it.
No, but I think that makes a difference. I think Skeen is in it just as a way to die for his brother. But rebellions aren't built on that.
Rebellions are built on hope.
Right? Rebellions, yes. Thank you, yes, exactly.
One of my favorite quotes.
People made fun of it. Why is it so cheesy? Good. I like it. Because rebellions are built on, like, hope for the future. Things will get better. Not just some way to get revenge that you die during, right? Win and walk away. And maybe, in an Andor's case, you win, you walk away. You win, you walk away. You win, you walk away. Until maybe you win and don't walk away. Maybe you don't win. I don't know. Which, on Scarif, he wins. He does not walk away.
Mm.
That scene makes me cry every time, all the time.
I know. I'm like, I definitely am that person too, where if I rewatch it, sometimes I'll be like, oh, they're hugging on the beach. Click, done. That's how it ends. Like, I'll just pretend and, you know, hope that they actually had their happy ending.
Well, on Jeddah, the ship comes in and then they get out right at the nick of time. And in this, you know, on Scarif, there's not enough.
Yeah, because on Scarif, there's like a force field around the planet that's closed?
They get rid of the force field.
I was gonna say they had to take that down.
Right. They take that. They're taking it.
Yeah, that's how they send it out. But this show is deep to the point where, like, when what's his name, Nemec? When Nemec is talking about his, like, beliefs, I wanted to just kind of rewind it and listen to it again. I didn't get to do that, but like, I could listen to that. There's a thought that goes behind this show and what they're writing, and it just all makes sense. Mr. Plow says, yeah, the civil rights movement has a quote about things may not happen within 1 or 2 generations, but for generations after. Yeah, because you're building towards a better future. You're not just trying to do one thing, you know? Mr. Plow also brought up an interesting point. The inner rim seems to have more humanoids. Coruscant being the capital of the galaxy, right? And like Coruscant, I believe, is in the inner rim, and then the Empire's stronghold, and it's built from the inside outwards. That's why the Hutt cartels have the outer rim. You know, it's the area where the Empire's like, we don't have to go there and impose Empire. The Hutts will deal with order, and we're fine as long as, you know, we can come in and catch some rebels every so often. Yeah, I'm loving the show. I'm legitimately sad every time the episode ends because I need another episode. And whereas, like, Mandalorian, amazing, I love Mandalorian, I was just like, I will watch it a week from now. It's fine. I'll watch it a week from now. That's fine. But in this show, I'm like, I need it.
Well, especially this episode. Yeah, where it's like, you know the heist is coming, and it's like, can I please just see that? Like, I need to see what happens. Like, it's such a, I hate to say like quietness in comparison to like Mandalorian, where I feel like Mandalorian's very explosions and, you know, blaster shots and, you know, I mean, not all the time, but I feel like with Andor, it's a lot more quiet, but something about that like quiet, I don't know, quiet tension, I guess, is like so intriguing to me, because I feel like that, you know, Star Wars, it doesn't always do the quiet tension.
No. That's how you know there's a character. It's a character moment. It's not a plot related moment, because plots aren't quiet, right? Unless, I guess, unless, I don't know, whatever. Sometimes.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how next week plays out, because this does feel very much like I could see people saying this episode is like slow, and I'm like, I mean, it was moving at the pace it was moving at, and I'm okay with it. But it very much feels like a calm before the storm type thing. Like, especially with the rebel group, like, enjoy your moments with these guys, like, because you maybe won't get many more. You know, that's how I'm viewing it. Of like, I'm enjoying the time that I'm getting with them, because I don't know how much time I'm gonna get with them. And I also think, like, with Mando, as I'm #1 Mandalorian fan, but it's like it is a very much like adventure of the week, like a case of the week type thing, where you're like, I'm excited to see what shenanigans they get up to next week. Whereas this is much more like the stakes are so high that I'm so concerned for what's going to happen next. And yeah, I do feel that tension, you know, sitting down on the couch at 11:50 being like, oh man, what's gonna happen?
Yeah. What does Cassian say in this, that everything before a mission is something? What does he say? He says something.
Yeah, he says the day before the mission, because when he admits that he's being paid, he's like, it's the day before the mission, like, all you have to do is worry. You just have time to worry. Like, we were always gonna fight about something the day before the mission, because that's all you have to do. All you just have to sit and freak out and kind of worry. That's not his exact quote, but
yeah,
just what he says.
So I mean, this episode is the day before the mission. I feel like it is, as an episode. Whatever big is coming will happen next episode. Do we feel like the heist is the big part of this 12 episode season? Because this is episode 5, right? Is the heist halfway through the season, 6? And then we're going to get another 6 episodes to another big thing?
I feel like there's got to be. I feel like, how can you have the big thing halfway through? Like, how do you
They're not
keep
going to draw
going
it out
after
there,
that?
right? You don't think the heist is in the 12th episode, right?
I can't see how.
Yeah.
Like, I can't fathom, like, 6 more episodes of, like, preparation.
No, I think the heist is either going to last one. I think it's going to be over next episode, or it'll kind of bleed in, because we have to see it. Something has to happen for Cassian to not walk away, right? So he either has to be bought over or radicalized in some way to want to join the cause more, and that's going to bring him to Saw Gerrera, or, you know, something's going to happen that he can't leave. He doesn't have anywhere else to go. So I think it's like the first hill. Like, it'll be, you know, kind of like an act 1 finale almost, or like an act 2 finale, because I feel like act 1 was him going with Luthen and doing that whole thing, and then this is going to be the next kind of set piece thing, and then we're going to go into the, like, where the rebellion is just starting to get organized, you know, and just starting to really kind of come together.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think of, like, what could happen with everything. Did they mention Saw in this episode or no?
I think they name dropped him.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think someone said his name, because I'm thinking of the person on TikTok who does Saw Gerrera Watch, where they just recap every episode on whether or not Saw Gerrera was in it.
I can't tell. I can't remember whether I'm reading this or I remember from the episode. Did they say that Saw Gerrera blows up people, whether they're Empire or not? Maybe I read it, but the point being is that, like, Saw Gerrera is not the rebellion. Like, he's one aspect that sparks the rebellion, but he is nutso, right? He's way more, less about the future. Again, what we're talking about. He's less about the future and hope. Saw's not about hope.
No.
Saw's just about, let's get them back, right?
Yeah.
Until maybe his final moments when he lets Jin and them escape. Maybe he sees hope at that point. Maybe we can dissect Rogue One a little bit better now that we have Andor.
Well, I think that's always the hope, right? When you have a show that builds on a movie.
You just like saying
I
hope,
think...
Kira. Maybe that's the hope. Maybe
that's a hope.
Maybe critical analysis is built off of hope.
Well, I just think, like, look at what the Clone Wars series did for the prequels. You know, so I think there's always more to show, and I think the TV shows just help, like, you kind of see the movies, I guess, like, in a different light sometimes.
Yeah. When done right?
Yeah.
Peacemaker kind of did that with the Suicide Squad. A little bit. You know? Makes us understand Peacemaker a little bit more. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
I've not.
Oh, if you like the Suicide Squad, which I do, I love the Suicide Squad. Peacemaker is a really good show.
I've heard good things about it, but I think it's on HBO Max, right?
Yeah.
I did not have HBO Max when it came out, so I didn't watch it while it came out, and then I got it for, what did I get HBO Max? Oh, Our Flag Means Death. So, and I have it now.
Good choice there. Yeah.
Game of Thrones. So it's like, now that it's there, I might watch it.
You should watch it. It's pretty good. It's one of DC's top 3 shows, I think. You know, well, top 3 live action shows. Harley Quinn's also good. Anyway, what do we think is going to happen as we close up this episode of the After Show? Andor isn't over. This is episode 5 of Andor. We still got 7 more episodes in this season alone, and then 12 episodes in season 2. So where do we think this season is going?
I feel like this show I'm having a harder time. Like, it doesn't follow, which isn't a bad thing. It doesn't follow the usual, I guess, like, Star Wars
big
feel,
bad,
I guess.
Moff Gideon. Yeah.
So it's like, it's very hard to predict what's coming next, and I do like that about it, because I feel like it keeps me on my toes.
Yeah. Because it can go anywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that big picture, I think that whatever happens in this heist is going to bring to, and this is just my gut feeling, is that it's going to bring together Deidre and Cyril.
Yeah.
She's gonna sniff it out because she's noticing a pattern, and they have that great, like, it's too random to be random thing. And I was like, you're listening to true crime podcasts. And then so she's already on edge, and then Cyril has the whole thing with Cassie, and I think that they're both gonna kind of put it together maybe, and gonna come together on that point. And I think they are gonna be just an unstoppable team of faces I'd like to punch. And I can't wait.
Is Deidre heading to Donnie? The planet? Is she heading there? Didn't we see an Imperial shuttle head? That's what they were like, who's on that Imperial shuttle?
Did they say something about a senator coming, or am I remembering wrong?
They did, yeah. When Lieutenant Gorn is underneath, he mentions that, like, okay, but clean that a day, you know, tomorrow, the next day. You know?
So I don't know if it was Deidre. I feel like it was whatever senator. I don't even know what senator it would be coming. But it seems like that the shuttle was carrying the senator that they were talking about.
Okay.
At least that's my best guess. Who knows? It could be Deidre could just walk off the ship next episode, and I'll be like, oh, I was wrong.
Yeah. This show is wild. I gotta watch it again. I watched it again earlier today when I put it on the background. But, like, there's a lot in this show. Kira, did you say what you thought? would happen?
Like I said, I
Just you
find
can't
it
tell.
very, like I said, I think that's what I like about it is I really don't know what direction they're gonna pull it in. Like clearly Saul Guerrero is gonna come into it at some point, and he's a very unpredictable character sometimes, I feel. So that even adds more like second guessing, like, oh, I really, really don't know like what could be coming next. I think the idea that Serial, Cyril, how
We
do they
should
say
call
his
him.
name?
We should call him Cereal from now on.
Serial.
Yeah.
I'm like, I said it and I was like immediately like, that's probably not right. But him and Deidre teaming up, I could totally see that because I think they both have their own information, I guess, and I think if they work together, they'll kind of start connecting some dots.
They also have a lot to prove, right? Like,
Exactly.
they're both, desperate to move up.
That's a good point
interested.
too.
I'm interested if we're gonna see in this season or if it'll be until next season. Mon Mothma's like spot getting blown up. Like her whole thing kind of crumbling.
It
I
has
mean,
to happen at some point.
it has to. I mean, that's why she's here, so we can kind of see that happen.
That's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, I'm eagerly awaiting that, like in a terrible way, where it's like it's going to be rough, but they're building it so well. I'm just excited. I'm excited for all the plot lines.
It's the opposite of The Departed, because Matt Damon's the bad guy undercover for Jack Nicholson's character in The Departed. Have you guys seen The Departed?
Yeah.
All right, we'll do a Departed after show.
There's also a
Kira, you'll be invited. You gotta watch.
Okay, that'll get me to watch it. I'll do it.
In House of the Dragon, there's also a very prominent rat, and every time I see the rat, I'm like, oh, and I just like
yeah.
What song starts playing?
Mothma is the rat.
Yeah.
Even though she is good, she's still the rat, right? She's the spy. At some point, it's gonna get like the shit's gonna hit the fan, right?
Yeah.
I almost wonder if her husband's gonna have something to do with it because it seems like they're very at odds.
He would
politically wise, so I feel like he would be the snake that's like, oh, I'm gonna snitch on my wife.
Then I like I said, I hope he gets the Mace Windu treatment. Sorry, the Mace Window treatment. I don't like that guy.
Yeah.
I don't like that guy.
No.
Do we know when Mon Mothma gets found out? Do we know when she leaves the Senate? As far as I know, I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think I know.
She's in Rebels, but I think she's still a senator in Rebels.
Okay, so she's still undercover, or a spy. I mean, but like, we don't know at what point does she just move to Yavin, if at all. She can't still be a senator throughout. They dissolved the Senate in A New Hope,
right?
So we don't know. So that's interesting. It could happen at any moment. We don't know if it happens now. We don't know if it happens later.
I'm telling you, the show is so unpredictable.
Yeah. Mr. Plow says she appears in the Aftermath books. The Aftermath of Yavin, or of episode 6, though, Return of the Jedi. That's Aftermath, right? Not Aftermath of the prequels. So at some point, there's a lot. There's a lot to this show. I'm very excited to see where it goes. But if everyone has any closing thoughts before we get going. No? All right. There's a lot. There's a lot with this show, and I'm glad. First thing, I'm not only glad to be watching it, I'm glad to be talking about it with you two. Thank you so much, both of you, Sarah for being my co-host, and Kira for being the guest. You're 3 hours ahead, right?
Yeah, it is currently 2:24 a.m.
and gearing up for New York Comic Con. So thank you so much for taking time out of your night and your morning to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
have fun at New York Comic Con.
Yeah, have fun.
Thank you.
Kira, where can we find you online for those of us who are listening to the podcast? Wherever you get your podcast from. Where can they find you?
I am on Instagram and TikTok at Kira Elizabeth with 2 H's.
KIERAELIZABETHH.
Yep.
5th grade spelling bee champion.
Is that true?
Yeah, 5th grade district spelling bee champion. Yeah. Thank you, Kira, so much for coming on. Thank you, Sarah, for being an awesome co-host. Sarah, where can people find you?
Instagram and TikTok at Ms_Marauder. A lot of cosplay, Halloween, and it's anime conventions coming up. So
yeah, Halloween's coming up, and I'm mulling over some ideas. I hope I get invited to parties. We'll see. For anyone out there who is watching, you are watching us on Twitch or YouTube, twitch.com or twitch.tv/The Keeg Show or youtube.com/The Keeg Show. If you are listening to us, you're listening to our podcast. That is wherever you get your podcast from: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, and iHeartRadio. If you're on social media, you can find us on Instagram or TikTok at The Keeg Show. We're also on Facebook and Twitter at The Keeg Show. Pretty much everywhere at The Keeg Show or /The Keeg Show. We are all over the place. We got the Andor or After Show every Wednesday night, 10 p.m. Pacific time. And then we have the She-Hulk After Show that we're going to start in like an hour or hour and a half because She-Hulk drops. And then we're going to have a She-Hulk After Show tonight as well. That's early morning on Thursdays. But definitely follow us on Instagram to find out more about our schedule. We also got Comic Talk on Thursdays, and we are talking the Werewolf by Night on Sunday for the Keeg Talks. So we got like 4 different shows this week. So definitely stay tuned. We got a lot of cool stuff. Thank you to Kira. Definitely anybody out there, go follow Kira. Go follow Sarah. And follow the Keeg. Thank you everybody so much for coming on. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, I'm your host, Dimitri Pereira. And this has been the Andor After Show talking about episode 5. Take care and see you guys next week. Bye-bye.